In a lot of my videos, you'll see these albums and those CDs in the background, and it's prompted a lot of people to ask me about what the music is. And so I've decided that I'm going to do a series of videos where I look at all of these and talk about them for you. I'll be talking about what they are, where I bought them, and the memories that go along with them. But before I do, a disclaimer, just so you know. My taste in music ranges from, you need to listen to this, to, I know, please don't judge me. First up, Al Green's Greatest Hits.
You ought to be with me. Yeah, you ought to be with me.
As a teenager, I'd go to London and see all my friends, and everybody had this album. It was fantastic. The songs on it were brilliant. I loved Let's Stay Together, I'm Still in Love with You, Tired of Being Alone. It's just full of magnificent tunes. And what I did was go and find out more. I started buying up all of his back catalogue. I bought Call Me, Living for You, I'm Still in Love with You, Al Green is Love, and so many more. He became one of my sidekicks as I started my Seeing Girls era, alongside Barry White and Marvin Gaye. I wouldn't be lying if I said without them two, I would have had no success at all. Aswad, Renaissance. I'd first heard of Aswad back in 1984 when I heard the song Chasing for the Breeze.
How could I see? I'd be chasing for the breeze.
I really liked their style of reggae. As a kid, I'd been brought up with it. My brother had an album back in 1968 called Put It On, It's Rock Steady. And as the years went by, we went into ska and we went into reggae, and I'd always followed that kind of music. And Aswad had had a big hit called Don't Turn Around. And it was that prompted me to get this album. It wasn't my favourite on it though. That would have been Smokey Blues. Coming up next, the Beatles, The Magical Mystery Tour. My mum and dad had Help and Rubber Soul, Beatles for Sale. I bought Revolver as my first. My brother bought Sgt. Pepper, and we'd collected them as a family. Later on, I bought the Beatles Blue box set containing all of the albums. And then by the late 80s, I started collecting the albums on CD as they'd come out. Lots of good music on this album. Sadly, in the 1990s, I had to sell all my Beatles albums when I lost my business. But a few years back, I bought them all back again. Here we've got a box set. There are 5 Carly Simon albums on it. First one, Carly Simon. There's Anticipation, No Secrets, Hot Cakes, and Playing Possum. Most people had heard of Carly Simon, obviously for the big hit, You're So Vain, but then there was Loving You's the Right Thing to Do, and Nobody Does It Better as well. But it wasn't until 1977 when I was rifling through my brother's record collection and found the album Hot Cakes that I really started to take any notice. I listened to the album and there were just so many varied good tracks on it. A favourite of mine at the time was Older Sister.
She goes to bed an hour later than I do. When she turns the lights out, what does she think about?
But there were others as well. And when I got that, I became a true fan and started collecting her albums. So when I found this little set, it was one I just had to have. Speaking of box sets, Connie Francis, 19 original albums and some bonus tracks. I first came across Connie Francis on my dad's old reel-to-reel tapes when I was a little boy. He'd been friends with somebody who became my godfather, and he owned a record shop. And it was a period of piracy, if you like, because my godfather made reel-to-reel tapes up for my dad to play in his arcade at the time. Connie Francis was a big star, and some of her hits were on these tapes. Who's Sorry Now was a big one. Lock Up Your Heart. I'm Sorry I Made You Cry. But the B-sides were also on these tapes. And the one that stood out to me was You Were Only Fooling.
It's a story as old as Adam and Eve.
Now, I loved Connie Francis and her singles. And then as compilations came out over the time, I went and bought them as well. So when I saw this with its 19 different albums on it, it was one I just had to have. Now, Connie Francis was the top selling female artist of the late 50s and early 60s. And so this selection of albums gave me a wide range of the types of tunes that she sung, but I hadn't yet heard. This one's by Don Lang, and it's introducing the hand jive, which was a big dance back in the day. This is another album that my dad had on his reel-to-reel tapes. Don Lang had been known for singing the title track of the TV series 6-5 Special.
Over the points, over the points, over the points, over the points. The 6-5 Special steaming down the line. The 6-5 Special's right on time.
But for me, the song that I loved as a kid and when I was growing up was on my dad's reel-to-reel tapes, and it was called Witch Doctor. Now, Witch Doctor had been a cover of the American hit of the same name. But on this album, there were some other songs that I really liked. They were different in a kind of way. They were supposed to be rock and roll, but there was a bit jazz as well. One of my favourites was Texas Tambourine.
Still I'd like to be the guy who shakes that Texas tambourine. A jing, a jing, jing, a jing, a jing, jing.
This one is special. And I'll tell you why it's special. Because it's sung by someone who, like me, is a showman. Donald Byron Wheatley brought out this album in 2017 called Moondogs and Mad Dogs. I've known Donald since he was about 3 years old. And so when he brought this out, I was really interested in it. He writes all his own songs on it. They range in different styles, but it's very much a Dylan-esque type album. The first single off of it was The Lonesome Carol of Big Don.
My pendulum, it swings from black to white. No less, I'm halfway between tonight.
Now this is about Donald's dad. But for me, the highlight of the album is Moondogs and Mad Dogs, the last track on it.
Well, in another life, they said I must have been a king, but I don't like to taste the gold. Sound the diamonds when they ring.
Because in it, he talks about loads of other showmen that I actually know. And so for me, this is an album that's very close to my heart. Now, I was a fan of Steely Dan. So when in 1982, this album came out, I was more than interested.
I'm rested the Nightfly. Hello, Baton Rouge. Won't you turn your radio down?
The Nightfly comes in the top 5 of my albums for all time. New Frontier was the first single from the album, and it was brilliant.
I hear you're mad about Ruby. Like your eyes, I don't like him too.
It sounded like a Steely Dan album, but different. It was autobiographical. In the 50s, the Drifters had done a song called Ruby Baby. And on this album, there's a cover of that in Donald Fagen's own different style.
You don't love me, but I love her just the same. Ruby, 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 baby.
And also on this album is a song where he mentions a barmaid called Gretchen. And if there's any other reason worth getting it, that's got to be it. Let's change styles now with Edmundo Ros. My dad had an album of his back when I was a kid growing up, and I loved it. I'd often play it. It was different. It was all Latin-y, and I kind of liked the groove to it.
I can't find another word with meaning so clear. My lips try to whisper sweeter things in your ear.
When I got married and left home, I never really heard the album again. And when my dad died, we gave all the albums away, so I kind of forgot all about it. And then one day I was walking in a charity shop and looking through the records, and I came across the album again. And so I picked it up and bought it. But when I got it home, it was a little bit scratched and didn't sound so great. When I saw this compilation, I just had to have it. So it was a box set that I am pleased to have. In 1975, I'd gone to London to see some friends, and I was walking up the Roman Road, just having a look in all the different shops. I'd wanted to buy a pair of Dr. Martens. That was what I'd gone up there for. But while I was there, of course, I had to go in a record shop. And it was there that I saw this, Elton John's Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy.
Cornflakes and classics, 2 teas both with sugar free.
Now, I'd loved Elton John since he'd come on the scene back in the early 70s. I can remember Your Song and Rocket Man and Honky Cat and all those sorts of songs and loving them. And when I heard this album, I was blown away. It's definitely an album I'm glad that I've got. Next up, we've got the very best of the Fifth Dimension. Now, I'm a late entrant into this. Obviously, I knew Aquarius and Up, Up and Away, but that was all I knew for a long time. But by the mid-70s, when I was a bit of a soul boy, I'd heard Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr.'s Look What You've Done to My Heart, and You Don't Have to Be a Star to Be in My Show. What I didn't realise at the time was that they'd both been in the Fifth Dimension. Years later, I started hearing these other songs, like Wedding Bell Blues, One Less Bell to Answer, and last night I didn't sleep at all.
Last night I didn't get to sleep at all. No.
And it was ages before I found out they were the Fifth Dimension. And when I did, I started looking for their albums. And this is the one that I came across. In the winter I was 17, I worked in a furniture shop called MFI. And across the road, there was a second-hand shop, but they had a load of import albums in there. And in my dinner break, I'd go in there and flick through the records to see if there was anything I fancied. And I was taken by this, Gene Page's Hot City. All instrumental, but I did know that Gene Page had been an arranger for Barry White, and knowing how the Barry White songs were, I figured I'd like it. And so this became a favourite album at the time. Over the years, it found its way out of my record collection, and so I was really glad when I saw this reissue on CD. There's a lot of good tunes on it, but the one called She's My Main Squeeze was the highlight for me. Earlier on, I talked about my dad's reel-to-reel tapes and the Don Lang album. And on that same reel-to-reel tape was a Gene Vincent album, Gene Vincent Rocks and the Blue Caps Roll. Now, this CD has 2 albums on it, but I want to talk about that album because it was one that I was brought up listening to. Obviously, I knew Gene Vincent was the big rock star of the time. I bought some of his singles, but I love this album. One of the highlights for me on this album is A Standard by the Light of the Silvery Moon.
Keep it shining in June. Your silvery beam will bring love dream.
He also did a version of the Hank Williams song, Your Cheating Heart.
Cheating heart will make you weak.
Along with that is some little rocking numbers that I really like too.
Well, everybody's talking about a working man. Nobody's talking about a rolling daddy.
And the last CD for this session is this one by Go West. It's called Indian Summer. Now, I'd heard of Go West when the song We Close Our Eyes came out in 1985. And then they seemed to disappear. I didn't hear any more from them for ages. And then in the early 90s, I heard them do a cover of the Bobby Caldwell song, What You Won't Do for Love.
My friend always wonder what is wrong with me, but I'm in a daze.
And I just thought Peter Cox's voice was superb on it. And so that's why I bought this. Go West, a great group to finish off this video. I hope you've enjoyed my little wander through my CDs, and comment down below if there's any of these that you've got and that you've liked. And I'll see you in the next video in the series.